how's it going? Welcome back to my channel, Gardening in Cold Spring Harbor. With the spring season finally just around the corner. Websites, garden centers, big box stores, even supermarkets and groceries are selling crop seeds. They've been selling them like crazy for the last few weeks. The shelves are stocked from top to bottom. Various companies offering various sales, promotions, and deals. But I know how intimidating, how scary it can be when it comes to choosing and purchasing the correct seeds. And also how scary it might be when you are a beginner gardener and you're trying to avoid any and all of seed buying mistakes. In today's video, I'm going to share with you not one, not two, not even 10 seed purchasing mistakes which you home gardeners must avoid at all costs. We all love to have a home garden. Whether you had an existing home garden which you want to continue this coming season. Maybe you were dreaming of having a home garden your entire life. And this is finally the year you're going to build your dream home garden. But it all starts with seeds. All the roads lead back to seeds. Unless you're growing from transplants, which you purchase during the spring season from a garden center or nursery, but those transplants can cost so much money. And it's more rewarding and pleasing to grow your own crops from scratch, from seed, because you know exactly what you're planting, what you're growing, and what you are adding to it, so you can get the best, the most juiciest, and most delicious crop of your home gardening career. So in today's video, I'm going to share with you all the seed buying mistakes which you must avoid at all costs to have the most economic, most rewarding home gardens of your dreams. Also, when you go to a garden center or nursery, you are always limited to what that specific vendor is selling. It's what they want to grow and what they want to sell to you. So you may be limited to say 4 or 5 tomato varieties. And say you want to grow 20 tomato varieties, 30 tomato varieties. But by going to that garden center and purchasing ready to plant transplants, you are limited to what that garden center and nursery is willing to grow and sell to you that gardening season. So for those of you looking for that online gardening channel that offers tips, tricks, easy, yet proven gardening advice to take your home garden to that next level, don't go anywhere, guys. Stick around with me today. Start with going below this video and clicking the subscribe button. If you are enjoying the content of my garden videos and want YouTube to send you notifications every single time I'll upload a new garden video, click the bell icon as well. Now let's get started. Let's get gardening. With all the vendors out there, all these seed companies, with all the brands as well as crop varieties available to us home gardeners. Now, in the year 2024, so many choices to make. Anything from hybrids to heirloom to open pollinated crops and to beginner home gardeners that can be as confusing as ever. So there are so many possible mistakes which we can make, which we probably all made without even realizing it. I am not embarrassed to admit that I personally myself have made not just 1, not 5, but all of these mistakes. And it took me a while to realize these mistakes, to man up to these mistakes, and to never make these mistakes again. And by avoiding these seed purchasing, seed selecting mistakes, I was able to save my family, myself, so much money, as well as prevent so much frustration and stress. So let's dive right into the first seed buying mistake. That seed buying mistake is over spending too much money when there's absolutely no reason to do that. Say you go online and you see all these seed packets being advertised. And now this time of year, you're going to see all these sales, all these promotions happening. BOGO sale, buy two, get one free, save 30%, save 10%. Free shipping when you order $99 or more. Free shipping across the US, you name it. We start getting all excited seeing all these sales and all these deals. We add all these seed packets to our cart, come to check out. We find out that we are spending $300, $400, even $500. Why spend so much money? That is absolutely crazy. We must always come into the seed selecting and seed shopping process with a budget in mind. So if our budget for that growing season, for that growing year is say $50, $60, we must always pace ourselves. No reason to get so excited. Guys, I've been there, done it. I'm always thinking, this is a new crop. This is a new variety. Doesn't this coloring look beautiful? I can grow that in my home and everyone's going to be so shocked and impressed. No reason. Let's always stick to the budget that we have set for ourselves for that growing year. Which right away brings me to mistake number 2. And that is not considering the spacing or the sizing of our home gardens. Is our home garden in-ground home garden? Is it composed of raised garden beds, like many of us home gardeners have? I have raised garden beds in my home garden. Is your home garden primarily made up of containers? I have containers in my home garden. Nothing wrong with that. Are you living maybe in a smaller apartment and have a windowsill garden? I have that as well. Are you living in an apartment and have a balcony garden? All of those are great home garden options. However, the sizing of each one varies tremendously. And by going back to the sizing of our home gardens, that sizing, that dimension will have a direct impact on how many crops we can grow and where we can grow them. Say our home garden is 10,000 square feet and you are thinking that you can grow 100 crops that year, even 50 crops that year. Is that realistic? Probably not. If you have a balcony home garden, can you grow 20 crops, 30 crops? Also, probably not. So when we're going into this whole seed selection and seed purchasing process, we must always consider the sizing of our home garden. What we want to grow and where we'll be growing. Each of the seed packet, regardless of the brand or the variety, will have that depth and spacing requirements. Very, very important. We can never just overcrowd all of our crops because we want to grow so many different crops, so many varieties. So always, always in the back of your mind say, I have a container home garden. What can I grow in the container garden? And there's so many crops out there that are clearly marked on the package as being container friendly crop. And the packet, the seed packet, will always let you know what the sizing of the container should be so that crop will be happy and free to grow as large as it needs to grow. I just quickly pulled out this particular seed packet and I want to show you that this is an example of a container friendly crop. So this is our early purple eggplant and it clearly states that it's a container variety, but the minimal size of the container should be 12 inches. And again, in the back, even with this brand, you could see clear spacing and depth requirements. So say you have a container garden, which is absolutely fine, guys. Again, in my previous videos, I have shared with you all of the crops that I grow in containers absolutely every single growing season. Say you want to grow watermelons this year, or even cantaloupes or honeydews, which is fine, but you do have a container garden. So how large are typical containers? 5 gallons? 10 gallons? So do you think that it's realistic to grow a crop as large as a watermelon? Or something that's climbing and vining in a 5 or even 10 gallon size container? Probably not. Not even if you have a 50 gallon container. You could probably get away with it to some extent, but that crop will not be happy. Even if you have raised garden beds, it all comes down to how many raised garden beds do you currently have? Or how many raised garden beds can you fit, calmly, proportionally in your home garden. So always think about it in the back of your mind when deciding on what crops you want to grow that gardening season. What is that seed buying mistake number 3? And that is thinking that cheap or cheaper seeds are bad seeds. You could see that the pricing of each seed packet varies tremendously. We can find seeds that cost as little as 50 cents a packet. We can find seeds that cost $1 per packet. We can find seeds that cost $1.99, $2.79, $2.49. Or when we're browsing online or through seed catalogs, I've seen seed packets sold for as much as $12, $15, even $20 and above. Just because the seeds are cheaper does not mean that they're bad seeds. Does not mean that they're not going to germinate. Does not mean they're not going to grow. I have gotten seed packets from a dollar store before on great discounts. And I've grown those seeds side by side with the seeds which I've gotten from big box stores, from organic garden centers, to nurseries. And you know what? They germinated and grew exactly the same way. So if you do find a sale, even at your dollar store, don't be afraid to purchase those seeds. Absolutely nothing wrong with them. Which brings me to the next mistake, which is mistake number 4. What is that mistake? That mistake is over purchasing. We tend to find a deal or a steal. Well, at least that's what we're thinking in our heads. And we start grabbing all these packets. We find a deal, 2 for $1, buy 2, get 1 free, buy 5, get 5 free, you name it. So we start grabbing all these seed packets, and what happens afterwards? More than half of those seeds never end up getting planted in our home gardens. So that is over purchasing, over buying seeds that we do not need, that we do not even end up using. Let's move on to that next seed buying mistake, and that is buying same seeds. Why? Because we forgot that we already have that crop or that seed variety back at home. Again, maybe we came to a garden center or even a big box store, even a grocery store, and we see the word sale, or we see these racks from top to bottom with seeds. We like what we're seeing, so we grab that packet and bring it home, only come to find out that we already have same or similar variety. Here is an example. This one is by Burpee, is the nasturtium flower Alaska mix. Here I have by Fairy Morse, also nasturtium Alaska. So as you can see that these are the same crop. And this mistake many of us home gardeners tend to make, especially if you haven't used a seed packet the previous growing season, because maybe we overbought, maybe we overspent, maybe we underestimated, the amount of spacing we had. So we saved it in our box, somewhere in our closet. Come to find out this year that we already had a similar, if not exactly identical, seed packet at home. Which brings me to the next possible mistake, which is not sharing our seeds with our family members, our friends, our neighbors. Fall, you know that they're shopping and planting exactly the same crops or similar crops that you are thinking of planting that year. I know I have a next door neighbor which actively gardens all throughout the spring, the summer, and the fall. I say hello to them every single day in my backyard in the summer. And I always make sure that I ask them, what are you guys planting and growing this year in your home garden? And if they're telling me that they're going to be growing eggplants or tomatoes or peppers or even herbs, I always make sure that I ask them what type of tomatoes are growing, what type of peppers, and we always share seeds. They share their seeds with me and I share my seeds with them. That's a great way to make sure that not only you being friendly, but you're also not letting anything, not a single seed, go to waste. Let's get right into the next possible seed buying mistake. And that mistake is waiting too long to purchase the seeds. I know that many of us start seeing racks filled with seed packets or start getting our seed catalogs in the mail as early as mid-winter. I know I've been to my local garden centers, trying to pick up some soil or some fertilizer, only to see other customers checking out at the register with seed packets. And I thought, what are they doing? Are they crazy? We're like in the middle of winter. We're not sowing anything. We're not growing anything. Why would they be paying and getting those seed packets so early on? We tend to think that those seed packets are going to stay exactly where they are in that store or on that website for months and months to come. That might be the case, but not all the time. If you've been eyeing a specific crop, say a rare crop, a unique crop, an heirloom variety crop, which you've been dreaming of growing, and you're thinking that, I'm going to wait till February, till March, till April to purchase it, only to come back to that website, type in the name, and see the words, sorry, out of stock for the season. Or to go back to your local garden center, come back to that shelf full of seeds, only to find that 1 or 2 empty slots saying sold out for the season. And you realize that, dang it, those are the same seeds that I came back to purchase. I came all the way back to the garden center to purchase them and they are sold out. So guys, never assume, never wait too long. I'm not saying be the first ones in the garden center, be the first ones to make that online order, but always plan out according, especially if that crop that you want to grow is not widely sold or widely available. So what is that next possible seed purchasing mistake? And the mistake is purchasing the seed packet based on the pretty picture, on the colorful picture you might be seeing in front of the packet. There's so many companies out there, seed companies. They use such beautiful, colorful ink to print the pictures in front of their seed packets. We look at the pictures, we say, wow, for example, purple carrots, yellow carrots, orange carrots. Compared to standard orange carrots, this looks so much more exotic, fancy. So we tend to buy a seed packet because of the looks, and looks only. Only to never even sow and grow it in our home gardens. Don't judge a book by its cover. Don't just grab a seed packet and pay for it, even if it costs 50 cents or 25 cents. Always look at the name, at the crop variety. Always turn your seed packet around. Read what that crop requires. How much spacing, how much sun, how much shade, how much humidity. And think about your own home garden. Can your home garden offer those growing conditions to that crop? And if the answer to that question is no, then maybe purchasing that crop is a mistake and a waste of money. Let's move on right along. What is the next possible seed purchasing mistake is don't purchase seeds you don't intend to grow. At least not that gardening season. If you don't like to eat it, if you don't like to see it, if you don't like to consume it, chances are you're not even going to grow it. So say you don't like the taste of Brussels sprouts, whether you cook them yourself or you get them at a restaurant. So chances are you're not going to grow it because you're not going to consume it. So if there is a crop that you don't like for whatever reason, the looks, the taste, the smell of it, don't get the seeds. Get the seeds of a crop that you will enjoy growing, enjoy consuming. Now, for example, I love growing summer beans. I grow pinto beans. I grow bush beans. I grow purple hull beans. Various summer beans. Why? Because I love that green, white, bushy look. I love getting on my knees on a kneeling pad and harvesting those beautiful beans. So the flavor of the summer beans versus the fall beans does not differ much. However, majority of the fall grown beans are going to be those stringy, vining, high beans versus that shorter, bushier look. So if you prefer that bushy green look, plus it adds a beautiful landscape to your home garden in the summer, grow the summer bush beans instead, which is what I do. I try to steer away from the fall sown and grown beans, but that's my preference. I'm just giving you guys a total example. Another mistake is we end up purchasing a seed packet or a crop without researching it. We're thinking we can mimic, we can replicate the picture that we're seeing. Or we think that we have heard that crop name before. Maybe you read about it online. Maybe somebody on your Instagram page or Facebook page spoke about it. And you're thinking that, why can't I grow that crop? If she can grow it, so can I. That's not the case, guys. Even if the name sounds familiar, even if you see the picture and you think, oh, I saw that crop, that gardener grew it, that gardener grew it, doesn't mean that you can grow that same crop in your home garden. Always take the time to go online and research the crop. Going back to my previous point, where each crop will have different growing and caring requirements. Just because you're growing 3 beans doesn't mean that all of these beans will have exactly the same growing, caring, and maintenance requirements. So always do your research before you purchase and sow your seeds. So what is that next seed purchase and seed buying mistake that any of us home gardeners can make? And you know what? I myself have made this mistake multiple times in the past. And that is purchasing a seed packet or purchasing a crop that I know I will not be able to grow that garden or that growing season. Let me give you an example. Here in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A, we must start sowing our tomato seeds inside, indoors, in seed starting trays around the month of March. So if you do not start sowing them in the month of March, you're going to miss that perfect timing. Your transplants must be mature enough, healthy enough, strong enough, big enough for the time of transplanting. So if you take too long to start sowing your crop from seed, you're going to miss that timing. Sometimes I go into a garden center or even my big box store and I see people shopping for tomato seeds, say in April, even May. I look at them and I'm thinking, why are they buying tomato seeds now when that sowing time frame has already passed? There's no way that they could start sowing their tomatoes from seeds inside indoors at the end of April or even May. That means that they're purchasing those seed packets for almost nothing. Well, they can save it, but it's not the same thing as collecting or saving our Pokemon cards. Seeds have to be stored at proper conditions. They have to be stored in a cool, dark, location with absolutely no moisture or humidity levels, or you will lose those seeds. Another mistake that we tend to make, home gardeners, is saving hybrid seeds. Say we grow a hybrid crop, we salvage some seeds from that crop, or we went to a garden center and purchased a packet of hybrid seeds. We do not use up the entire seed packet. Say we use up 20 out of 50 seeds. We wrap up the packet, put it in a cool, dark place, saying, oh, next growing season, I'm going to grow exactly the same crop. That is a huge misunderstanding. If you are expecting the same color, same texture, same flavor, same shaping, you're not going to get that from a hybrid crop. In fact, by regrowing that same hybrid crop year after year, you're going to be quite shocked at the result which you're going to get. You will get a crop that either looks totally different color, tastes different, looks different, and you might say, what is this? I grew this tomato last year, I grew this pepper last year in my home garden. How come last year this tomato was burgundy color? And this year it's pink, orange. That is exactly what you can expect from a hybrid crop. If you want to ensure that the crop you're growing will taste the same, look the same, feel the same as previous years, stick with either heirloom crops or open pollinated seeds. Those two, heirloom or open pollinated, you're guaranteed to grow and to see the exact crop you're expecting to grow and to see. The next very common seed purchasing or buy mistake is not comparing the prices of the seed packets among various stores, various websites, or seed companies. Sometimes we go on a website, we see the words 20 or 30% off sale. We start adding all these seed packets to our carts. Only when checking out, we come to realize that the final price is not what we expected because they slapped a huge shipping fee or shipping cost on top of that purchase amount. Nowadays, shipping can be so expensive, especially if that company, that vendor is using FedEx or UPS to ship your products. Also, there are many companies charging restock fees or shelf fees. There are so many hidden fees which can be added to the total. So I always recommend that you guys research. You go through one website, two websites, three websites, see what kind of inventory they have. How much is per seed packet? How much is their shipping costs, shipping fees? Even big box stores. You might go to Lowe's, for example, and see that they're charging $1.69 a packet. Next day, you're going to walk into a Home Depot, and for the same crop, they might be asking $3.79. Why overspend? Always do your research. Which brings me to the next big, very important point is planning. Garden planning. I always recommend that each and every single one of us, regardless of our gardening experience, sits down with a planner, with a piece of paper, pen, pencil, anything. Even our phones, and writes down notes. When do we expect to start sowing? What do we want to sow? What kind of crop? How many packets of seeds will we need? How many seeds will we need? How many, cabbage we want to grow? How many tomato varieties we want to grow that year? How many pepper varieties? Maybe a certain variety was not as successful last year, so why grow again? Maybe you want to try a new variety. How much garden space you have? Maybe you have planted something in the fall, such as your garlic. So maybe you have quite a few raised garden beds already occupied. Always think and plan in advance. Having that garden plan from the get-go will eliminate so much stress, so much worry, and will save you so much money in the long run. I save the best for last. For those of you, my fellow gardeners, my loyal subscribers, my viewers who stuck around with me till the very end of this video, I promise you this last mistake or this last tip which I'm about to share with you will not disappoint. That mistake is fixating, obsessing on something called a growing zone. I reassure you guys, if the crops you're growing are not perennials, that term, the growing zone, throw that term out of your mind altogether. There's so many crops we don't even purchase, don't attempt to grow because we are fixated on growing zone, growing zone. What is growing zone? Growing zone it's a band. It's a strip of bands outlined on the map of the United States of America. And the growing zone is determined by our coldest winter time temperatures. Say here in zone 7, where I live, that growing zone is 0 to 10 degrees Fahrenheit. South growing zone, say zone 9, that is temperatures between 20 to 30 degrees Fahrenheit. So that term, growing zone, refers to perennials only. There is an example of 2 crops that are considered perennials in some states. Those are artichokes and asparagus. If you're growing tomatoes, peppers, zucchinis, eggplants, warm weather crops, even lettuce or radish or beans, the crops that will subdue, die off because of the cold temperatures, they're not perennials. Perennials are plants that go into a dormancy phase sometime around mid to late fall, sleep throughout the winter months, and come back for us on their own during the warmer spring days. So if the crop, which is being sold in the garden, in the growing zone where you live, is not meant to tolerate the temperatures, the coldest winter temperatures in your growing zone, most likely, 99% of the time, it will not even be sold in the garden center where you live. So don't worry about growing zone. It doesn't apply to annuals, to the crops which we grow during the spring and summer seasons, which we will have to dig up or clean up come the fall season. There is only a small percentage of crops that falls into the perennial crop category. In growing zones 7 through 10, gardening zones, artichoke and asparagus are considered perennials. But the majority of the crops, which many of us home gardeners grow during the spring as well as summer or fall months, do not fall into the perennial categories. Again, those are tomatoes, eggplants, peppers, lettuce, radish, beans. Those have nothing to do with growing zones. What's more important to consider is the term growing season. What is the term growing season entails? That term entails the amount of days between your last anticipated frost date and your first anticipated frost date. What is that? Some of you might be asking, how do you get those dates? Where do you look for those? Super easy. Either go on google.com or log into the Farmer's Almanac website. Type in the zip code in which you live, and it's going to give you 2 dates. Those 2 dates will always be sometime in the spring as well as fall. Whether it's in March, April, May, or September, October, November. But the date in the spring season will be your last anticipated frost date. And the date which you're going to get sometime within the fall season will be your first anticipated frost date. You do the math, you calculate the amount of days between those 2 dates. And that number is your growing season. Now, each seed packet will have days to maturity or days to harvest. For example, the spaghetti squash, just giving you guys an example, 85 to 100 days to harvest. Whether you see the terms to harvest or to maturity, doesn't matter. That is your growing season. So say you want to grow the spaghetti squash. Looks beautiful, right? But say in your area where you live, in your home garden, from your last anticipated frost date to your first anticipated frost date, there's only, say, 100 days. And this packet says, for example, 120 days. So you cannot grow that crop? Yes, you can. How do you give yourself those extra 20 to say 30 days as a bonus? Because that crop will need those days, that amount of days. There is no miracle, there's no going around it. If you have, say, 80 days and the crop requires 120 days, guess what? It's not going to be ripe enough for you to harvest You're not going to have that amount of days. So what can you do? You could start sowing that crop inside, indoors, in seed starting trays. By doing that, you are giving yourself those extra 10, 20, 30, 40 days. Because remember that number. From seed to germination, amount of days to germinate, plus you need that time for that seedling to grow, to produce the true set of leaves, and to become a strong enough transplant for you to transplant to your home garden. So by starting inside, indoors, and seed starting trays from seeds, that is exactly how we home gardeners can get those extra 10, 20, 30, 40 days into our pocket. So always look for that growing season. Look how many days that crop which you're looking to grow needs from seed to harvest. This is it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for joining me here in my home in Long Island, New York, Zone 7A. Where again, as I said in the beginning of this video, with this spring season finally just around the corner, and I'm excited, if not more excited than many of you guys. I can't wait to get my hands nice and dirty in my home garden. I passionately love to garden, and I love sharing my gardening passion with you guys. For those of you who enjoyed the content of today's video, if you found today's video to be helpful, useful, informative, and absolutely anyway, show me that support by clicking thumbs up below. Leave your comments in the comment section as well. I read each and every single one of your comments and personally respond to each and every single one of you. Let me know, have you started purchasing seeds from your local garden centers, from your local grocery stores, maybe even online? What are you planning? What are you thinking of growing in your home gardens this coming gardening season? Share some pictures of your home gardens with me, guys. I love seeing your comments, your pictures, your positive feedback. I truly appreciate each and every single one of you. For those who haven't yet subscribed to my Garden Chef Gardening Cold Spring Harbor, what are you waiting for? Super easy for you to do, super pleasing and rewarding to me. Just go below this video, click the subscribe button. Don't forget to click the bell icon as well if you want YouTube to send you notifications every single time I'll upload a new garden video. Be healthy, happy, stay warm during these cold winter days, and happy gardening, guys, and I'll see you again in my new upcoming gardening videos. Bye, guys.